We're at the last location, which is in Stoneville, and we're at the studios of Joel Smoker. Joel, thanks for having us here at the Red Dirt Studio.
I'm pleased that you could come across.
So what sort of work do you do here?
I do a number of different art forms. I mainly work in ceramics in my three-dimensional art form, and I'm a photographer. So I reproduce prints of my photographs and cards and posters, and I also go and do drawings out bush. So they're in the pastel form.
Wow, so how long ago were you doing photography?
I've been doing it for a long time. I did live up north, and so a lot of the pictures are from there, but I've also travelled widely through Western Australia, and I reproduce postcards from my photographs of regional Western Australia.
So is a lot of your work based on regional Western Australian images?
Yes, it's really to do with the landscape, both the photographs and the drawings, but also the ceramic, more to do with the colours that I use.
Okay, so how do you get the inspiration for what sort of ceramics you want to create?
Some of it came from looking at city buildings when I came back to Perth. And so that's where I get the angular forms from, and I'm incorporating the landscape colours into those pieces.
So what sort of finish do you use on your ceramics?
On the inside of the pieces I have what is called a gloss glaze. So that means you can put water in it and it's sealed. And on the outside of the pieces I have what is called a dry glaze. And so that's glaze without the glass former in it, and it's more like a stain, and that gives it that sort of earthy colour.
And are these created on a wheel, or do you create them in a different way?
How I make these pieces is by rolling slabs of clay on a slab roller, and then when I've rolled the pieces, sometimes I put them into moulds, other times I let them firm up and I assemble them into the forms that we've got.
And do you do a lot of drawing?
I do. I love drawing, and it's a reason for going out bush, and so my wife and I in our holiday breaks often go out bush and I do my drawings out there.
Does your drawing link in with your photography in terms of the images or the subjects that you use?
Yes, because one, it's the same sorts of places that I'm going to, and I use the drawings as a means of producing work that I can then reproduce and sell to people at a reasonable price.
So other than here at the Red Dirt Studio, where can we find some of your works in Western Australia?
Well, I'm certainly represented at Mundaring Art Centre, and the gallery where I show my work is Stafford Studios down in Cottesloe, and they're waiting on an exhibition from me. They've been waiting for a few years, and eventually it's going to happen.
And have you already started working towards that exhibition?
I've had a number of exhibitions with Stafford Studios, and this one I've been waiting for a number of years, and hopefully I'm going to get it ready probably by next year.
Excellent. Well, can you take us into your workshop and show us how you make your ceramics?
Sure, let's do that.
So this is your workshop. Where would you start your process?
Okay, I start my process here first, and this is where I wedge up the clay. And I wedge it up to different weights, and then I pat it out into a flat piece. Then I pick the piece up, and I go across to my slab roller. So what happens is I'll put my slab down here. I actually have a piece of cloth first, and I'll put another piece of cloth on top, and then I roll the slab roller, and that flattens it out to a thickness that I want. I run it back, and I actually have to do that a few times. After the slabs have been rolled out, I then take them over to this bench over here, and actually they're on boards. And it depends on the form I'm making. I go and select the template. So let's say I was going to do this form. I take that template down. I put it down on a piece of clay, and then I'll cut out the shape, depending on which one I'm using. Take it off. And then I put those slabs of clay onto a board and put them up on my shelves to dry out. And then I make the other pieces, and then I assemble the pieces together here. But it will take me a whole week to make a series of, let's say, half a dozen pieces. What this is a plaster mould. And so if I want to make a bowl shape or something that's curved, I'll drain a slab of clay in there. And then the plaster sucks the moisture out of the clay, and it shrinks, and when it gets firm, it holds the shape.
So how often will you fire the kiln up?
When I've got pieces ready to be fired, and I've actually fired some in here, so I'll show you.
Excellent.
This is called the bisque firing, which is the first firing, and these pieces have been fired up to 980 degrees Celsius. And that means when I take them out and clean them out, they're ready for me to put the glaze in them.
Excellent. So how does this actually heat the kiln?
That's good. This is an electric kiln, and you can see the coils in there, whereas the kiln that I do the glaze in, it's called a fibre kiln, and I'll show you why. In this case, the inside of it has been lined with a silicon fibre, because you can see on the outside it's just a wire mesh, and there's one gas burner there, one at the back, and we load the glaze pieces in here, close it up, and this stops the heat getting out, and I take this up to a temperature of 1300 degrees Celsius.
Wow. And how long do they need to be in each of these kilns?
Okay, a kiln firing in the electric kiln will take at least 24 hours, and a gas firing, similar sort of thing. It fires up slowly overnight, and then the next day I fire up and it goes into the evening.
So these items have been fired, so now what happens?
They're ready to be glazed and then refired in the gas kiln. And how I glaze them, I pour glaze inside, swirl it around, pour it out, and then on the outside I'll be spraying the dry glaze in a spray booth that I have over there with a spray gun. So that's how I apply the glaze to the outside of the pieces.
Excellent. Thank you for showing me around your studio today.
And thank you for visiting.
No worries, it's been a pleasure. So that takes us to the end of the Mundaring Open Studios tour. I hope you enjoyed this show, and stay tuned next time for more Gallery Watch.